So, Paul, we'll start with the cover of the Daily Mail.
Yeah, let's do this. Now, Rayner hires 68k vanity photographer. So this is the Deputy Prime Minister, of course, Angela Rayner. And on the taxpayer, she's now got herself a rather exclusive photographer just to follow around and snap. And now, this is not entirely unusual. A lot of Prime Ministers have this.
Do they?
They have done in recent times, last 10, 20 years. However, it's the first time a deputy prime minister has had such a thing. And it's not in itself a huge story, but on the back of a number of other stories, like, for instance, that she was gifted by Lord Ali a holiday, or she refuses she does so.
And I will just add on that as well, she had 5 nights in what looked like a really high-end apartment in Manhattan overlooking the park on New Year's Eve, either side of 5 nights, and she said that she guessed that the overall price of that was £1,250. That would get you a flat in Brighton over New Year's Eve.
You'd be, and you would be lucky to as well.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what? You put all this together and it seems... It's not entirely unexpected that people in high office get gifts.
No.
OK? And if I was in high office, I'd take them as well. But I would take them
You've taken a tie.
I have taken a tie, exactly this. But I don't go around telling people they shouldn't.
Yes.
And do you know what? Angela Rayner in particular spent 14 years calling Tories scum for doing things very similar to this, and now she's reaping the rewards of... now she's reaping the rewards of being in high office. She has no leg to stand on whatsoever. This is no surprise. The optics are terrible. The only thing that looks stupid is the emotional intelligence.
The optics are terrible, which really does throw into question the 68 grand she spent on a photographer.
Exactly.
If that should get you anything, it should be good optics, shouldn't it?
It's infuriating to some degree, because a lot of this stuff, like I say, shouldn't make too much of a difference. But it's coming from an area of politics where they have been very quick to point the finger.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out as well, Kerry, I don't know whether you've noticed, but a vanity photographer that accompanies a ref, 68 grand must be pretty much a full-time job, I would imagine. Maybe he gets weekends off to do weddings.
Yes.
But
I don't know what the prices would be. That sounds pretty expensive, doesn't it?
It's like a full-time, and yet I can't remember seeing any photographs of her that wouldn't have just been caught anyway by the standard press pack photography.
Yes, exactly. You got professional press taking photographs of you. Why do you even need that? But it's also get an app. That's what everyone does now, don't they? It costs a £5. Get an app, and there's apps that do...
A selfie stick.
I know, and then it touches you up. It does everything. You don't need to spend this kind of money. Do you not know about apps? Is this new to you, my friend?
I did. There was a picture of him. I don't know if he's got his own vanity photographer that follows him around and takes pictures of him, but there was a picture of him and her, like a little chain of them, like the Cat in the Hat. But he's quite a big, hunky fella.
Is he?
I've got to question whether whether the vanity is purely in the photography.
Have you seen photographs of him, have you?
I've seen a photograph of him, yeah.
Well, who does he get to do his ones?
Exactly, that's what I'm
questioning. I see, I'm missing that. So, right, yeah. Like the hairdresser problem.
With her. I don't know, it wasn't with him and her, like, taken together.
Yeah, but it's like the thing, you go to the hairdresser across the road who did the hair of the hairdresser here, don't you? So,
it's like, I cannot do a vanity photograph of this man. He's my son.
So this is all mixed in with... I mean, it's basically the honeymoon period has been a bit odd for Labour, hasn't it? It should have been an absolute delight and a wonderful time for them, but instead it's been more like one of those honeymoons where the bride brings her parents along, and everything's sort of falling apart, and particularly with money scandals, which is very typical of the Labour Party, of course. What they're kind of known for is it tends to be money scandals, and we're hearing about Lord Ali holidays, as it sounds like a scheme in itself. What is all of this? It's not quite scandal enough for it to be. It hasn't been given the word gate at the end of it yet. Do you know, which is when we know it's reached full scandal. But it's all coming together. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
I do think it's interesting. I don't know whether this is just mere speculation, but because Rishi Sunak called the election when he did, they were expecting to have an election and then go straight into the summer holidays, right? And that possibly created... I mean, we had the riots, obviously, almost immediately afterwards. Yes. And although that was divisive, some people felt the two-tier Keir and all the rest of it, there was at least... people recognised it was a serious issue, which he had acted on. But there's been a bit of a vacuum into which all this kind of stuff is sucked, because we've got a new government, but we want to know what they're about.
What they're about, and whether it's about hypocrisy or not. And all of this just feels a little bit hypocritical. I'll just run through some things. Rachel Reeves has accepted £7,500 in donations for clothing, and she registered it as support for her office, which I'm not sure why that is support. But OK, Angela Rayner has accepted clothes worth £3,500, registered as donations in kind, which is not what I thought donations in in kind meant, but OK. And £17,000 of donations in kind from Lord Ali since October last year. So that's quite a lot, really. And it's, you know, it's really, I think it's a very odd place for them to be with the conference right now because, and she's saying that she's been overly transparent, which I'm not even sure what that means. How transparent can you be? Like, that's not invisible, is it? It's not there, basically.
Philosophers have explored that question of if something's too transparent, you see straight through it, you don't even realise it's
not even a thing. It's truer than true.
Let's move on to the Telegraph, and Rachel Reeves is the counterbalance to all of this expense account for arrears. Of course, Reeves is warning us that we're facing ruin.
Yes, Rachel Reeves talking like a dominatrix at the moment, promising us pain, but it's all going to be worth it. And this is really preparing us for a raft of tax rises that we're going to see in the budget, and I think it's all being laid down now. And we need to do this, we need to do this. We've seen some very curious talk about all this from the winter fuel allowance, which was odd in that it was the very first thing, I think the first thing that Labour did when they got in, was to talk about cutting pensioners' allowance, which...
Got rid of Rwanda.
Yeah, well, did they do that first?
Yeah,
was that immediately...
OK,
Rwanda goes, and then this comes in, which no one saw coming. I don't think they even knew it was coming themselves.
Germany, there was a deal that went on.
Yes, well, there's talk of it in Germany now, isn't there? Yeah,
We've got
absolutely.
that story as well about 1 million people wrongly classed as too sick to work. You've seen this one on the Daily Telegraph?
Yeah, it does say that 1 million people are wrongly classed. And basically what this means is that we're kind of fudging the unemployment figures.
We're doing what to them?
We're fudging them.
Oh, OK.
These are people, it says people who are willing to work, willing and able to work. They're not themselves claiming disability benefit.
No, and themselves they're saying that, yes, they have been sick, but they would like to go back to work. And what this means is instead of 1.5 million people looking for work in the UK, we've got 2.5 million people looking for work in the UK.
Yeah.
So not only have the Labour Party got all these other problems, they've now increased unemployment by 1 million people in the space of a weekend.
I mean, if that's true, 2.5 million, that's a significant number of people. That's getting up towards Thatcher tier.
Yeah, it is.
It seems to be a confusion, though, between two expressions of economically inactive and hidden unemployment is the new one, isn't it? The hidden unemployed want to work but aren't working.
There's so many gradations. It's like unemployment is a spectrum disorder now, isn't it? Rather than a sort of are you or are you not unemployed.
It should be quite binary, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, it would certainly help for understanding the statistics and whether this is the problem. There was a big paper released this week that a lot of people on Twitter have been talking about Britain's productivity crisis and what it rests in and whether it's infrastructure and whether it's building, property and so on. But I can't help thinking a huge amount of it is just, allowing people to sort of slip through the working at all net.
Yeah, and it obviously works in favour of the governing party because if it does decrease the unemployment figure by a certain amount, because we're all under the impression anecdotally that unemployment is quite low.
Yeah,
and there's actually more jobs than people.
Well, certainly just on the sort of premises that advertise visibly, like restaurants and hospitality sector seem to be looking for people for shops and that sort of thing. I mean, that's Brighton anyway. I don't know.
No, it's true everywhere, particularly kitchen staff, chefs, and things like that in pubs and restaurants. They seem to be.
Get them out there, Paul. They have the Guardian. They have Hezbollah.
Well, they also have, if you'll forgive me, they also have a story here which I think is just as interesting. We'll get.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Is it the hidden life of Elizabeth Taylor?
No, not that one.
Not that one.
To
OK.
investigate £600 million COVID contracts given under the Tories. So Rachel Reeves will announce today, this is Monday, that she's going to order investigations into these £600 million worth of contracts that were given to chums and that of Tory donors, etc., etc. Now, I guess it's relatively important, but quite frankly, it's ancient history, politically speaking. What happens when they discover that, yes, a few contracts were hastily given in some sort of nepotistic way to people that perhaps shouldn't have got them? That helps us not at all with anything that's going on politically and domestically right now. So I mean, they're trying to claw back some credibility.
Yeah. I suppose conceivably, if it depends exactly how nepotistic, how irregular the payment was. If it's possible to get the money back, it would be meaningful, right?
It was called chumocracy,
Yeah,
apparently.
that's what it was.
Yeah, that's the term they gave it. I'm not sure why it wasn't part of the COVID inquiry anyway, giving out contracts for chums. I thought that was already there, but obviously not. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's something that should be looked into and investigated. There is a feeling that with the conference going on right now that Labour desperately want to take some heat off themselves and all the fingers being pointed at them and remind people there was a Tory government.
Yeah.
So possibly it's about. Can we do a quick mention on the Hezbollah one?
Yes, please do.
Hezbollah enters battle of reckoning with Israel. I haven't had a chance to read through the whole thing, but basically they're saying that this is now going to be an open-ended battle of reckoning, whatever that means. We're not very sure. But the position now is David Lammy saying that we need to stop this and ceasefire now. But I'm not sure what these words mean anymore. I don't know why. This seems to me like shouting into the wind to try and stop a thunderstorm. And
David Lammy checked his pager.
Well, but it's never worked. It's never worked. We can't do it with the Houthis. We can't do it with Boko Haram. We can't do it with Hezbollah or Hamas. We can't, or anyone. We can't say Russia and Ukraine. Hey guys, stop now. It seems so naive.
I suppose it's important for foreign secretaries to make noises, isn't it? At a certain point,
he makes noises.
It'd be nice if a foreign secretary showed some understanding of the situation and came up with some ideas about how to approach it. But this doesn't seem to be doing that.
He's not. He just doesn't have the relevant experience. He's incoherent in the way that he seems to go about things. It's about winning hearts and minds, and he is nowhere near winning hearts and minds. He can't even please people on his own side of the argument. I think David Lammy is potentially one of the worst Home Secretaries that we've...
Foreign Secretaries.
He's also a Foreign Secretary that we've ever had, because he quite quickly is creating a bit of a problem for us.
Well, he's waded in that thing with the Armenian dispute, didn't he? Remember a few days ago, which was such an unforced error.
Liberating, apparently.
Yes, exactly. I don't think anyone... I would say probably maybe 1 in 50 voters were aware of the situation at all. Now they're aware of the situation purely because of Lammy blundering into it. And
sure. He also said the other day that climate change is a bigger problem than terrorism, which is a bit of an insult to everyone who's died because of terrorism. But I didn't know it was a zero-sum problem. You know, we have to either treat one or the other.
If you take one seriously, it's likely to cause the other. But it's a good question whether they're all foreign policy, isn't it? The future is orange very quickly. This could be the end for David Lammy, of course, if Donald Trump gets in.
What does it say here? It's one small step for a man baby, another leap for mankind. Trump will say he'll colonise Mars with Musk if he's president. I don't know if that means that Trump and Musk are going to go to Mars, which a lot of people are going to be in favour of that, certainly.
This is the last thing we wanted to happen. Well, those are the front pages sorted. In the next section, heat